As promised, here's some of the helmet camera footage from this past weekend's BMW MOA Rally near Tomah, Wisconsin. For those of you that didn't get to ride the GS North route of the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail, this will show you not only some of the scenery we enjoyed, but the type of terrain we encountered, and might help you decide for yourself in the future if you want to take this route on yourself or not. In addition to just showing you what it was like, let's go over some of the basics on how to handle these big, heavy adventure type motorcycles in the deep sand and the puddles and the mud and things like that we encountered. Rule number one, especially in the deep sand, is to keep weight off the front wheel as much as possible. You don't want the front wheel to be any heavier than it is, carrying the weight of yourself and the bike, because it's going to want to sink down into the sand and cause all sorts of directional and steering problems, as you'll find out when you first start to try to do it. So 3 ways to really keep the weight off the front of the motorcycle. And the first one is to slide your weight back on the seat if possible. Put your weight more over the rear wheel, thereby lighten up the front wheel and keep it from wanting to sink down into the deep sand. Another way is to avoid using the brakes, especially the front brake if possible. Do some engine braking, use the rear brake if you have to, but the last thing you want to do is use the front brake. Everybody knows what the bike feels like when you use the front brake. All that weight slides forward and the bike dives down. It's going to put a lot of weight in the front and sink the bike down into the sand. You don't want to do that. And a third way to avoid putting weight on is to actually lift up the front end a little bit by using the throttle and accelerating. When you hit the gas, front end becomes lighter because it's wanting to pick up, as the riders are doing here. Previous footage shown from the Bloomsburg Rally in Pennsylvania. Doesn't always work, just accelerating through the soft stuff. Sometimes it's best just to slow down, put in first gear, tap your feet, and kind of walk through it. But again, you can try and hit the throttle a little bit and pick up the front end and get yourself through those situations too. As you probably heard, there were plenty of opportunities for us to ride through mud puddles left over from recent rains, and here's just a couple of quick thoughts. There's much more to it than this, but a couple of basics to get you ready if you're going out to cross through puddles like it appears I just did for the first time ever, almost slipping down there myself. Prepare your bike by having, hopefully, a more aggressive knobby type tire. Helps in the sand as well, but especially in the mud and things like that, you don't want a street tire. Get something with some good aggressive grip to it, and that'll help you keep the bike upright. Also, prepare your motorcycle by taking off the rubber pads that often come on foot pegs. This might require some tools. Sometimes you can just pop them out by hand, but that rubber, if on your foot peg, will get covered with water and mud and things like that, along with the bottom of your boot splashing, getting all covered with mud. And at some point you'll be putting your foot down on that rubber pad, expecting for some support to be there. Your foot's going to slip off of it, and you'll see it'll become a slippery situation on the bike, not only below the tires but on your feet as well. You don't want that when you depend on those foot pegs for support in certain situations. So remove the rubber. As far as how to deal with these specific mud puddles, though, I mean, do you know, is there a rock or a log down in there? Or is it maybe best just slow down, take your feet off the pegs, and kind of walk through them in first gear? You just don't know in these situations. So go through it fast if you're really confident that you can make it through, but be prepared just in case there's a rock or something down in there. And, well, hope those thoughts help.